Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning into another episode of the Meet Above Podcast, a show about anything and everything media related. Just me and Matt once again reviewing episode 7 of Daredevil Born Again. This one's called Art for Art's Sake. Um, base, why don't you kind of run it through the bases, man? Because this episode kind of like it kind of left me wanting more. I feel like
You
it just
know,
didn't deliver like the other ones.
I think that was intentional. Like get
Yeah,
people really excited for the last two episodes that are
yeah,
about
because
to
there are two
happen.
episodes left.
And now, before we get into anything, this is my rating for it. I'll give it like a 6.5 out of 7.
Yeah, I'll give it a solid
And
six
com
or seven.
in comparison to the rest of the season. Like
Mm-hmm.
I feel like every other episode before this was just executed really well. I
Even the
think
filler
there's a
episode.
yeah, like the filler episode was really good. Um, but it's still not a bad episode. Like,
No, it's not. It wasn't a bad episode, but I feel like they were trying to do too much in the episode because there was like at least four storylines going on.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for like an hour, it's kind of hard to manage that.
Yeah.
But pretty much what we got going on is Muse's hideout was
Rated.
discovered,
Mm-hmm.
raided by the task force
Mm-hmm.
and the police because from the previous episode when Daredevil said,
Yolanda, I think is her name.
yeah,
Uh,
fucking like
Ayala's
yeah,
niece.
a lot, yeah, his niece, um, White Tiger's niece. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah.
All right, so she woke up in the hospital. You know, the
Angela.
best.
Angela del Toro, that's her name.
Okay, she was
Yeah, dude, she lost a lot of blood, like
mhm.
2,500 milliliters. Um, for size comparison, 2,500 milliliters of blood, it's 84 ounces.
84 ounces.
Yeah. 2,500 milliliters at 84 ounce. It's almost a gallon. Scratch that. Yeah, it's almost a gallon because 128 ounces is a gallon.
How many pints go in a gallon again? I forgot.
It's about a little over 5 pints, Matt.
Oh shit.
So that's a lot of blood that she lost. Like, in the human body alone, I think there's 100,000 milliliters.
Yeah, I think we only can lose up to 6 or 8 pints, and then we're dead.
Yeah, we have 5 liters. That's 10 pints, meaning that she lost half of her blood.
Huh.
And considering that her weight and size might have been less than that, that means that she should technically be dead. But that's still a lot of blood.
Well, I mean, you can, like I said, I think like a person can lose up to like 8 pints, 10 pints,
And before they bleed
and
out.
before they flatline.
Hmm.
I'm not 100% sure because I'm not a doctor, but
Yeah.
if if I remember correctly from like Googling and all that stuff, I think it's about 8 to 10 pints you can lose before you die. But still, like 5 pints.
40%, which means about 2 liters of blood, which about which about little over 4 pints. So yeah, she basically almost bled to death. So she
Okay.
held on by the sliver. So, but yeah, they find his hideout. They find the buckets of blood and all the other art he did.
hmm Yeah, and then with that, you have so they're going through the motions trying to track down Muse, and then Daredevil is, I mean, Matt is still active as Daredevil trying to figure this out. And
Hmm.
he's trying to talk Cherry into giving him the information, and Cherry flat out refuses.
Yeah, yeah, that's like
Mm-hmm.
literally the second scene in the episode because he first has that whole thing with Heather. She sees
Mm-hmm.
bruises on him. We're in the shower.
Oh
Um,
yeah, and she's like, "Oh, I'm worried about you," and he's like, "Well, I
mhm.
I bump into shit.
Yeah,
That's part of my reality."
and like I'm blind. Yeah, but yeah, after that, he's asking Jerry for help, and he refuses.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just because. Matt promised Cherry he would never put the suit on, and then
Mm-hmm.
Matt's argument, which I agree with Matt 100%, that if he didn't, you know, become Daredevil, she would have been dead.
Yeah,
Like
Angela would be dead.
he had, and then plus how many more others? Because they're
Mm-hmm.
already at 60 plus people.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
this dude was draining people of their blood, make
Mm-hmm.
in broad daylight, making murals
Mm-hmm.
with people's blood, and
Yeah, it was weird.
the police, the fucking police didn't notice what was going on. It
Mm-hmm.
took the sanitation department to figure it out,
Mm-hmm.
and then even after the task force is still put together, like like it took Daredevil to fucking stop this guy.
Pretty much, yeah.
And I think that's like the huge thing that Wilson is missing.
The execution.
Yeah, he's missing the not only the execution, but I think he's also because they do bring that up. The next scene after all that is Detective Kim. She's talking to Wilson, and she mentions that like it's rumored that Daredevil was there.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of makes Wilson uncomfortable because he's trying to prove the point that he can protect the city and clean up the city without vigilantes.
Mm-hmm.
But bro, where were you when this dude was fucking killing half of New York?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah. You kind of skipped over another scene though before Wilson meets
The,
with
the
Kim.
detective? Is
Yeah,
it when
there's a
Daredevil's
scene there's a scene where well there's a couple of scenes, but one scene that stands out is Samantha meeting with the mobster, what's his name?
I forget
That's
his name, but I
that's
know who
right
you're
before
talking.
the yeah, that's right before the scene where Fisk meets with Kim.
Yeah, Vanessa, she meets with the dude who owes 2.8 million.
Mm-hmm. It was
Yeah, he's
1.8, but then he got too big for his britches and now it's 2.8.
yeah, and
Because
he's trying to convince Vanessa that maybe she should be back in charge
mm-hmm.
because like he's like, hey, we were earning better than ever with you in charge, and
Mm-hmm.
we want and now we don't get shit. Maybe we
Yeah.
need a change.
Yeah. There's also another scene before that that was a little weird. Um, where Wilson is talking to, I think it's Buck. I think he's talking to Buck. He's they're talking about, yeah,
Oh yes, where Buck is like
they're talking
try
about Daredevil.
yes, and Wilson asked Buck why, if you remember why I hired you, and he goes,
Mm-hmm.
"Is because I can think." What was the word he used? Asymmetrically.
Yeah.
Like he can like look at different angles,
Mm-hmm.
and
He can think outside the box.
yeah, he's very good at thinking outside the box. And I like what he said to Wilson though. He goes, because he said something along the lines of like make to like with Daredevil, like make sure that it's not a personal vendetta. Like if the
Exactly,
pub
yeah.
because if the public sees it that way, um, then it's going to ruin you as mayor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because the people like they like Daredevil for whatever, like maybe he actually can protect the city. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like criminals feared Daredevil.
Yeah. Yeah. Criminals fear Fisk. I mean Daredevil.
Also, like with like even when you had like White Tiger, the Swordsman, and things like that, they didn't have the same type of fear factor that Daredevil did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's kind of what kept them in line.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Luca, that's his name, Matt.
oh,
Vanessa meets with
Luca.
Luca. Mm-hmm. Like
Well,
He's trying to convince her, like, hey, can you get your husband off my back?
Yeah, well, he wants to be earning again like they used
Exactly.
to, making
Yeah.
hand over fist money.
hmm And then after that scene, you see Detective Kim meet with Fisk, and they're talking about vigilantism and all that. That the scene after that is pretty interesting because you see Heather meeting with a young man named Bastion Glenn, or Glenn Bastion, I think is his last name.
Mm-hmm.
We're not
Like
gonna, yeah, so
I
she's
was
had
gonna say, was that the next scene or
the scene
was it when?
after the one that Fisk meets with Kim. It's actually
Okay,
taking place at the same time. Kim is with Fisk and Heather is with Bastion.
and then what about when Daredevil goes back to Muse's lair
No,
and
he
he's
doesn't actually go to Mrs. Lair. He's talking to Ayala's niece.
yeah, he goes to the hospital, but I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure that was at the beginning of the episode.
No, no, that's during that scene where Luca is meeting with actually after Buck is talking with Fisk. Matt is talking to Angela, asking him like, "Do you know what was going on? How he got you there? All that stuff."
Right. Okay.
hmm But
Yeah,
yeah,
this.
you have the scene with Bastion and Heather, and he's kind of like just telling all this stuff and talking about Taekwondo for some reason.
Oh well, because he's a Taekwondo practitioner.
No, yeah, I mean it's obvious, but so this
Well,
guy,
if you remember, Detective Kim said like like when he was taking Taekwondo, the
hmm
instructor was like a world renowned
hmm
sensei or teacher, right?
correct.
And it's like very like he was like one of the elite
hmm
people you can learn from. So
Yeah,
like
but the scene between Heather and Bastion, he actually appeared in an episode prior to this one because he says that she needs help and asks
yeah.
her if he's taking on any new clients. And spoiler alert, we find out that he's actually Muse.
Well, yeah,
Yeah,
it's Muse, but
yeah,
it, you kind of see it coming,
yeah.
especially with the scene because he's telling the story,
hmm
and like like with the instructor, he was murdered on the estate because
hmm
dude's family is like super rich.
Yeah, Bastion.
Yeah, Bastion's family is like super rich. That's why they were able to hide a lot of stuff. But then he was institutionalized against his will because
hmm
he's a fucking psychopath.
Bastion Cooper is his name. Yeah, yeah. He's a psycho.
So and then Matt is in the hideout dressed as Daredevil, and he's going through the art, and then he feels the art, and then he feels Elizabeth's face.
Yeah, she's drawn really weird too. But you kind of skipped another scene too, man.
I did. What scene did
Yeah,
I skip? Yeah.
it's not really a big scene. It's basically
Well,
them back at the law firm. He's talking to that one paralegal of his. I forget her name.
I forget her name too.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't really an important scene, but yeah, the scene after that, he goes to the hideout and he's feeling around the paintings, and yeah, he feels Heather's face in one of the paintings.
Yeah, so he's like, oh fuck. And then the dude who's supposed to be the leader of Wilson's task force walks in on him. Daredevil just chucks his bolo stick at him.
Yeah, that scene was funny.
He's just like bink, and he's like, ah shit.
I was like, did not see that coming. Yeah,
So yeah, now obviously when Daredevil uh
yeah.
like doesn't he hear over the radio?
So okay,
Like,
so
cause he
the scene is playing out. It's Daredevil is still investigating, and then the
mm-hmm,
guy after he comes to, he calls Fisk,
right.
and he tells him that one of the sketches that they found is Heather because they use
Yeah.
facial recognition.
Yeah, but like Daredevil fucking like that like does he just rush over to Elizabeth's office?
Yeah, because that scene after that, we see Muse attack her.
Yeah, that show. Like he starts attacking Elizabeth and
No, Heather. He attacks Heather.
yeah, Heather.
Yeah.
Fuck. Anyways, I don't know why I said Elizabeth, but anyways, he
Yeah, he has
attacks
her
Heather,
bound and all that.
and then Matt just jumps through the window, starts beating that ass.
Hell yeah. That scene was pretty wild because
It was
like it seems a little one-sided, but then out of nowhere, Matt pops up and they have a pretty good
back and forth.
back and forth.
Well, Muse is a like he's
Yeah,
like
Taekwondo. He's
even though
proficient in
he
Taekwondo.
yeah even though he hated Taekwondo, it's still like a valuable asset that
Hmm.
he's able to use,
Yeah,
and like and he's like really good at it. So
yeah.
yeah, it's,
My
but
only gripe with this scene is how the fight ends. We're not gonna spoil anything on this one, but let's just say that there was a buildup and they kind of
deliver.
they didn't deliver the way we hoped.
Okay,
Because
but
at one point, Daredevil has the upper hand. He hooks him with his hook, and he's
oh, he
beating the
shoots
crap.
that shit through his
Yeah,
shoulder and
and he's
yanks
beating
him
the
back.
crap out of him. And it looks like the fight is won. It looks like the fight is won, and the cops are already there. They're about to breach, and yeah, you think like, okay, this is it. Here comes the final climax, but nope, it was not delivered the way we wanted.
Yeah, but needless to say, Muse is stopped.
Hmm.
He's brought down, and um, now Daredevil because during that before Daredevil got there, Muse cut
Yeah,
a
her vein.
her vein. Like he
Yeah,
followed that shit down her arm,
yeah. So she was bleeding out the entire time.
and so she passed out. And
Hmm. He dips.
yeah, but like he dresses her wound before
Yeah.
he leaves.
Yeah, he wraps
He
her up and
leaves
then he dips. Yeah. But regardless, that scene as good as it was, I didn't like how it ended.
me neither.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
uh, but with that, so now after that, Wilson is sitting there. He's talking to the task force,
Yeah.
and he he
He
tells them,
basically gives him praise.
he tells them, this is what happened. Like you guys take credit for
Hmm.
this
Yep.
because they're like, yeah, Daredevil was here, and Wilson's just like, oh fuck.
No, it wasn't him.
Yeah, it wasn't him. It was you guys. Like the
Yeah.
city needs to believe.
Yeah,
Like
you came here at the last second and you took care of business and you saved the
yes,
lady.
which we all know that's not what
Yeah.
happened, but
Honestly,
they take the credit.
that scene reminded me of the Dark Knight when Bruce is telling Gordon to tell everybody that he killed all those cops so Harvey can be the hero.
Yeah.
Like it reminded me of that scene for some reason. It's like, the Joker can't win, and then Fisk is like Daredevil can't win.
Yeah. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, okay. And then after that,
There's a little
had
press conference. Well,
yeah,
actually,
there's a
no, no,
little.
no. There's a weird scene that honestly I didn't know why they put it in there, and it shows Daniel or I always forget his name.
Is it Daniel or
Da-
David? I'm
David or
spacing it.
Daniel,
It's one of those two. I'm spacing on it myself.
and he's
But
sitting in Fisk's chair, and BB walks in on him, and then they have a little back and forth. Honestly, what was that scene all about? I don't remember it. It kind of felt like, what are you guys doing?
well, the whole point of it was that remember how BB screwed him over with that
Yeah,
story?
frankly, I would have told him like, get the hell out of here. You almost cost me my job.
But that's why he did what he did. He told her um because she was going to run the story about how Daredevil stopped
Yeah.
Muse. And then he's like, no, we can't have that.
Oh,
This
that's
is how
right.
you're.
He's telling her to print that it was Daredevil.
Well, no, he's telling her not to print it. He's like, look,
No,
this.
he's telling her to print that it was a task force that took out Muse, not
Yeah, yeah,
Daredevil.
that's what I was trying to get at. She's like, wait, what? I thought we were friends. She's like, well, you screwed me over with that other story
Mm-hmm.
about the docks.
Yeah, no, the garbage man. It was the garbage
Yeah,
man.
the garbage man. That's what it
Which
was.
she did. I'm sorry, but she did. So much for
She
being
totally
friends.
did. And then he's like, you kind of owe me. He goes, now you have an opportunity. He's like, this is a carrot and stick situation.
Yeah.
And she's like, are you threatening me? He's like, no, but like you are presented with two opportunities, and I'll be so stoked if you make when you make the right choice.
Yeah, for real. It's like I gotta say, like, I don't like Bibi. Like I know that her uncle was killed by Fisk, and I know she's just trying to do her job. And you know what? And Jen will tell you this, like, I don't like reporters, dude. Like I do not like reporters. Like I don't like talking
I
to them.
I think reporters, like depending on who they are, like her uncle, I like her uncle or Lois Lane, is because they have their journalistic integrity. They make sure they get the facts straight and they deliver the news.
Yeah.
But and
Reporters like Bibi though, they're just trying to get headlines.
they're trying to get headlines, and she's willing to step on her friends for it, and
Yeah,
that's
dude, that was a dick move.
yeah. If like I can understand bringing down the guy who killed your uncle, but don't step on your friends to do it. If you're
Yeah.
gonna step on some people to do it, then
Step
like
on the actual bad guys.
yeah, step on the actual bad guys,
Yeah.
like Lois Lane does.
Yeah. But regardless, yeah, like Bibi, I'm not a fan of hers. Like again, I know she's a victim, but still, like
Yeah,
I
she
didn't care for her actions.
yeah, I think in this one instance, I'll agree with you. Like she kind of had that coming.
100%, yeah.
Yeah, if she didn't do that, d- dude would have no leverage over her.
No. So yeah, because he does tell her you owe me one now.
Hmm.
But yeah, but the scene after that, we see Matt in the hospital with Heather,
Yeah.
and she looks like she's recovering. And then the scene after that, we see the
Well,
press conference.
there's one important thing I want to say about that scene while they're in the hospital. She tells Matt that Daredevil's there, and she's like, "I think he said my name." So I'm not 100% sure, but I think she might be putting two and two together.
Oh yeah, she's not dumb. Heather's not dumb.
I know she's not dumb, but like he Matt could have fooled her if he never said her name.
True, true. That is true. Because she does say that. She goes like, "I think he said my name," and he go, and then even Matt's like, "Huh." But then the scene after that, we see the newscast of the task force celebrating, and then we have a creepy smile of Fisk while they're holding while they're
Such an awkward smile,
yeah,
but I think it's because the dude never smiles.
yeah, yeah. And basically from here, the episode wraps up in a pretty interesting way. Do you want to go into detail about it, Matt, or you kind of want to leave it up for speculation?
Um, well, we let's talk about it because
Okay, all
I
right.
feel like Luca isn't that important. Like he was just like a thorn in Wilson's side, and
True.
now the thorn is gone.
Okay, so
Like,
let's go ahead and break down the scene. So in the scene prior to the end of this episode, Vanessa meets with Luca. Luca's basically telling her like, "Hey, you should be in charge again." It seems like they devised a plan to take out Wilson at the Bamomanis restaurant. I can't pronounce the name. It has a weird name.
me neither. It's
Hang
the
on.
restaurant.
It's an
What?
Italian restaurant.
Yeah.
Bamonte's restaurant is like one he likes to go to a lot.
Hmm.
And you see Wilson eating, and
Yeah.
then Luca shows up,
Yeah. Vanessa sends Luca a text saying he's
the
at
restaurant, yeah,
at the
Bamonte's.
restaurant, and like she gave like the street and the cross street for it,
Hmm.
and then Luca walks in and then attempts to murder Wilson,
Hmm.
but
But
he gets shot really quickly.
Yeah,
Like
looks like Buck was already waiting for him.
now, my thing is because I honestly don't think Vanessa will deliberately betray Wilson like that. I think they were in on it together.
Hmm.
And the reason being is because the second Luca walked in, like he didn't he barely had time to point the gun at Wilson, and Buck was waiting in the shadows with a silenced weapon and put two in Luca's head.
Exactly. But okay, so
It,
one
it
of the
just
things.
happened so fast,
Hmm.
and so that's why I think that Vanessa and Wilson uh, uh, put this together to get
Hmm.
rid of Luca. It's just, and then after that, Wilson tells Buck, he's like, "Hey, text Vanessa."
Ask her if she wants me to bring any food.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's just the way he was so nonchalant about that sentence as well. That's
exactly.
why. That's why me personally, I think it was a setup between Vanessa and Wilson to get rid of Luca.
Yeah, and the internet is pretty divided on all this because some are saying exactly what you're saying, that both of them planned this to get rid of Luca so there's no repercussions, because they can just say Buck was standing in front of Wilson. Okay, so let me lay out the scene. So the way Fisk is sitting, he's sitting with his head to the back of the front door and his
Mm-hmm.
face is facing the kitchen. Buck is sitting in the, not even sitting, he's standing in the corner, but it's dark, so you can't really see him unless you really pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
And as Luca is walking up to Fisk, he pulls out the gun to the back of his head, but he gets two to the temple with Buck taking him out. Fisk doesn't even react, he's still eating.
Yeah,
And he even says, "Thank you, Buck."
yeah.
And he,
That's why I feel like it was planned out.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, but here's the thing though. Everybody knows that Wilson is always 10 to 15 steps ahead of everyone.
that's
So what
true.
I speculate is that he knew Vanessa was planning this, so he already had a contingency plan.
That very well could be.
Yeah, so like let us know in the comments folks, what you think. Like, cause I've gone on Reddit and everybody is split. Like nobody really knows. And that's what I liked about this scene, the fact that you're like, okay, so which is it? Granted, we'll
Mm-hmm.
probably find out in the last two episodes, but now everybody's like, did Vanessa try to get a hit on him, but he countered it, or did they plan this from the beginning to get rid of Luca?
Yeah. Like I'm still gonna stick with what I think just
Hmm.
because like how much Vanessa loves Wilson. And I don't
True.
think she would, and that's why I don't think she would outright betray him.
Hmm.
But him being a mayor and stuff
It's
is
putting
make
a thorn on her side, yeah.
it's putting a strain on her, a
Hmm.
huge strain, because she didn't want to give up that life.
No,
But I mean, she has to because he's the mayor now, and everything has to be squeaky clean.
exactly, yeah.
But that's but
But
Wilson is trying to color outside the lines by putting together a task force
hmm
that is dirty as fuck,
yeah,
but they wear a badge so they can skew the law. And with
exactly,
the and if you have like if you have a mayor like Wilson that's telling you to do this shit, he's gonna cover that shit up.
exactly.
The
But
only way that it's gonna be stopped is if the governor gets involved and has the FBI investigate what's
hmm
happening.
exactly,
But as long as Wilson and the task force keep their story straight, there won't be any need to involve the governor and
exactly.
and the feds.
But regardless, the episode, I mean, the way it wraps up, it wasn't horrible. I do like that it kind of leaves you thinking and it leaves you wondering. But everything else that was happening, I felt like there was too much going on. Um,
I I honestly think if they just concentrated with Muse um and I would rather that they concentrated on like the whole dynamic between Wilson and Daredevil being back.
yeah, I got honestly the entire episode, I was kind of hoping for Fisk to reach out to Matt and tell him like,
Yeah, I was hoping for the same thing too. Like they
yeah, it's
would
like,
have
so you're
another
like,
meeting.
are you back? Like, or what was this? Was this a slip up? Was this a relapse?
Yeah.
And I'm like, where's the backlash? But then again, you like you said, they both have nukes on each other. So it's like a Cold War. And you
Hmm.
mentioned we were talking earlier, you mentioned that since they both have something on each other, maybe the deal is that they will mess with each other. Like Matt wasn't directly messing with Fisk, and even Fisk got to take credit for all of his work. So,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, and like, um, I mean, I know it leaves a bad taste in Wilson's mouth that a
mm-hmm,
vigilante stopped Muse,
mm-hmm.
but like hands were tied.
True, yeah. You know,
So
wall
like,
up against the back against the wall.
mhm. And now if I was Wilson, me personally, I would find a way to use Daredevil to take out my competition.
Yeah,
I'm
maybe
just
they
saying,
could come up with some weird partnership.
not no, like just not a partnership, but like Wilson just sets up all these crazy elaborate plans,
Oh yeah.
and Daredevil just goes does his thing,
Mm-hmm.
and then he's none the wiser to what's really happening.
Exactly. But
Yeah,
either way, there's two episodes left in the season, folks. Like, let us know what your predictions are because it can go any way. Hopefully, they don't end it in a cliffhanger because that would suck.
they they probably will to an extent.
Hmm.
They, I'm trying to think. Wait, they let the defenders they did that was left in a cliffhanger,
Uh-huh. That's
and then you
true.
got see yeah, and then you got like, but I mean the show itself wrapped up, but then like the building falls on Daredevil and defenders, and you don't know what really happened to him, and then they say, oh, season three is gonna come out. You're like, what the fuck? I
Exactly.
got crushed by a building.
Well, regardless, like we'll see what happens. We'll do more review episodes as always. If you're on our YouTube channel, remember hit the like button, subscribe, comment
Yeah.
below. All
All
right, folks.
right.
Thanks again. We'll talk to you all next time.
Later's everybody.